know it's been a bit, but we're back. Sigdaddy's Wrestling Show is back. We had to wait for this episode just a little bit longer than we wanted to, but here we are. Welcome to Sigdaddy's Wrestling Show. I'm your host, Skylar Sigdaddy Sigmund, joined by my co-host, J.O, and our discussion today will be TNA Sacrifice 2010. We will be reviewing the show, going over each match, grading each match from this show back in 2010. It took place May 16th, 2010. And J.O, I know I don't think you're too familiar with TNA. So tell me what you know about TNA.
TNA, right? So before I was too big into wrestling, I knew, of course, everyone knows what WWE was. But I remember, just scrolling through TV when I was a kid and scrolling through. And I think, at this time they were still on Spike TV,
yep,
if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, and I remember just stopping it there because I just wanted to see what wrestling was about. And I didn't say I watched a whole lot of episodes, but anytime it was on, I don't even remember what day they were on TV.
This era, they tried to do Mondays for a bit. They quickly went back to Thursdays.
Yeah, that's probably the smart move on their part. But I'd tune in every now and then just for a little bit when I started getting the idea of when they were on. And I got a very, very brief knowledge of the company and who they had, because I definitely remember hearing a lot of the Main Event Mafia. I remember they were a big thing for a while. Samoa Joe. And believe it or not, tuning into TNA when I was younger was actually the first time I ever heard Sting. Like, that was the first time I ever heard about Sting.
Wow, that's kind of crazy.
Yeah, that tells you how little I knew about wrestling when I was younger.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, I knew TNA was a thing, of course, but not too in depth. I knew Hulk Hogan was there for a little bit, Booker T, Ric Flair. But yeah, not an expert, I'll say. Just very slightly above a noob, maybe.
During this era, I think I watched this pretty much every week. I watched TNA every single week. This is where I really actually started watching this, because I think I was like 08, 09, maybe 09 that I started watching a little bit. But then by 2010, I'm watching every single week, watching this on Spike. By the way, we apologize for not getting this episode up sooner. We had to sacrifice a little bit of our time. J.O. had work. What would I can't even think of the word. Work conflicts. That's what it is. Work conflicts. It's just some scheduling conflicts we had to deal with, and we had to sacrifice a little bit to get to this episode for TNA Sacrifice 2010. And there's plenty of stuff on this show. This took place at the Impact Zone, May 16th, 2010, 1,100 in attendance in Orlando, Florida, as we get ready to review this show. This card had 9 matches on it. Some really good ones listed on there. You think, okay, this card's going to be pretty damn good. And I'm like, all right, that's some big names on here. It looks like, okay, RVD and AJ Styles in the main event. That's going to be a certified banger for sure. You would think that. We'll get into that later. But the first match on the card, the opener, they're going to start out hot. Triple threat, number 1 contenders tag team match. Winner will face the TNA World Tag Team Champions, which were Scott Hall and Kevin Nash at the time. It was the Motor City Machine Guns, Alex Shelley and Chris Sabin versus Beer Money Inc., Bobby Roode and James Storm versus Team 3D, Brother Ray and Brother Devon. And so this tag division at this time, J.O., just to give you a little bit of idea, their tag division was the best in the world at that point, I think. One of the best in the world. But really? These 3 teams really these were the 3 major teams in that division. They also, at this time, actually, one thing leading to the future, but the Young Bucks are in this division too as well. They are known as as Generation Me, super young Bucks team. They'll be involved in a feud with Motor City Machine Guns later in the year. But yeah, this tag division was pretty damn good at this point. These are like the three major teams here.
Oh, wow. So the Young Bucks was signed to TNA during this pay-per-view.
Yeah, but didn't appear on the show, but they were part of TNA at this point because they had appeared just 2 months earlier at the Destination X 2010 pay-per-view, and I think they faced the Motor City Machine Guns in an Ultimate X match.
Wow. Okay, that's crazy to think about. I had no idea.
And those two teams had some bangers later on. Just letting you know.
And I forgot to mention in that list was anytime I would tune in for a little bit, I do remember hearing the names, the Motor City Machine Guns, quite a lot, like the few times I watched. So I knew they were always up there on the main, on the title scene for the tag division.
And the crazy thing is they didn't win the titles until like later on this year, like a couple months down the road. They didn't win the tag titles until then. That was their first time holding them, and I think it was 2010.
Wow.
Yeah. But this match starts out pretty hot. We get at one point Shelly, like the Motor City Machine Guns are known for their fast and quick. It's like very crisp offense. Shelly feints a super kick at one point. Shane Storms drops out of the ring, eats a cut to the gut. Inverted atomic drop by Shelly, low drop kick by Sabin, last chancery by Shelly, and then a basement drop kick to Rude's face by the Guns. This was freaking, like I had it written on here, freaking crisp.
It was a nice match. And I guess, with me just really focusing on WWE when I continued watching, but, WWE always had that problem of not focusing on their tag division, like their tag titles. So seeing a match like this, I thought was really nice because I'm trying to remember, when was the last time we saw a triple threat tag team match in WWE? So seeing something like this was really nice for me, at least.
Yeah, and you don't know much about the Motor City Machine Guns, really. What were your thoughts on them during this match?
I'm always a big fan of high pace, athletic, performers. So I really liked seeing them. And it's, even though I've heard of the name before, I never really paid enough attention to see who they actually were whenever they were being talked about. So it was really nice to finally put together like, oh, that's who they were talking about all those years ago every time I'm watching. But I liked them. Yeah.
And then we get, like, at one point we get Big Motor City chants. There's multiple blind tags during the match. Ray takes advantage of Sabin after a big boot, sidewalk slam, leg drop combo by Team 3D. Shelly then makes the save on the pin. There's a leg lariat from Sabin, goes for the slingshot. Ray moves out of the way. Power slam, then a leg drop by Devon. Rude breaks up the pin. And eventually Shelly gets neutralized after Beer Money hits their double team suplex, and they do the Beer Money thing, which was pretty cool, by the way. That was pretty over at that point. I think they were still heels at that point. Beer Money was. So after Shelly gets neutralized, he avoids Storm in the corner, kicks him. Shelly kicks off Rude, counters a back suplex, crawls between Rude's legs, which was pretty cool to see. And then Sabin tags in. And then at one point, everything just breaks down. I'm confused. I don't know who's legal at this point. It's one of those situations where I'm like, I don't even know what's going on here.
One of those.
There was a nasty tornado DDT by Rude back in the ring by, I think it was a Sabin. That was nasty. Rude had a great sell there. So when the 6 men are in the ring, Bubba Ray, Brother Ray, as they like to call him at this point, a bionic elbow to Storm, Dudleyville device to Rude. The Sabin hit a springboard crossbody to Ray, who I don't think is legal at this point. I couldn't even tell who was legal, but eventually Rude hits a spine buster on Brother Ray, then a neck breaker splash combo after a double team in the corner by the Guns onto Brother Ray. It's named Skull and Bones. It gives them the 3 count and the win at 13 minutes and 13 seconds. And man, this is a fun way to kick off the show.
It definitely was. And it was nice seeing Bobby Roode before he was glorious. It was nice. It was cool seeing him like that because I knew he was part of TNA, and I knew who Beer Money was, again, one of the people I remember hearing about when I watched it back then. So it was cool seeing that.
He is the longest reigning TNA World Heavyweight Champion of all time, I'm pretty sure. Roode is.
For how long?
It's like 280 days or something like that.
Wow. Okay.
TNA title reigns didn't typically last very long.
And if I remember correctly, his partner in Beer Money debuted at NXT a while back, but actually never wrestled.
He wrestled like one match and then never went there.
I think, because I remember hearing about that. So, yeah, I was thinking about that when I saw the tag team.
But I think I gave it a B grade. I thought it was a great start to the show. The only thing I didn't really like about this was the tag rules were pretty loose here by the end of it.
Yeah, I mean, why is the ref there at the end? If they're just kind of whatever happens. But I agree. I gave it a B. It was a solid match.
That's a good start to the show and everything, showcasing the tag division. So yeah, Motor City Machine Guns win, and they'll take on the winner of the later match, at least. That's what they were planning. The plan was to do, but Motor City Machine Guns, by the way, they've teamed recently. I think they're still teaming in Impact as well. They Impact Wrestling now.
Still there.
They still do it from time to time. They team there.
Wow. Okay.
And Shelley was actually, I just watched a documentary on him on Independent Wrestling TV, IWTV. Definitely check out. It's a 3-part documentary. It's called The Life of Alex Shelley. Really cool, by the way. But yep, Shelley's been the Independent Wrestling World Champion. Held it last year, I think, until early this year. But yeah, he was Independent Wrestling World Champion, IWTV. So yeah, they're Motor City Machine Guns still going strong 12 years later, singles and in tag team as well.
Respect to them.
And one thing I had to say about Taz, he looked good here. They showed Taz. They went to the commentary table afterward. Taz is looking sharp. Black coat, gray stripes, and the orange pocket square, and really like that.
Oh, I'm glad you bring that up because I definitely wanted to find a way to say, man, I love Taz on commentary. Even when he was in WWE, he was amazing at it. And for me, I think there's a nostalgia to it because Taz was on commentary on the SmackDown versus Raw PlayStation games that I played. And he was on commentary there. He's just so good on commentary.
I've always loved Taz. I like him now in AEW. I wish he was a permanent color commentator, to be honest, like on not just Rampage, but Dynamite. He's good enough to do both. But Taz has always been, he knows so much. Like he doesn't know just wrestling. He knows MMA and other stuff, mixes it in and like uses it all in his color commentary. And I just like the way he articulates things.
I would put him up close. I'm not saying. So the person I'm about to say, I'm not saying he's better than Taz. I think they're pretty close. I think Corey Graves is just about as good as Taz is now. Like Corey Graves now, I think so. In terms of how he can articulate things.
Kind of, and that's coming from a wrestler's perspective too, which helps. I don't agree necessarily with that, but I get the comparison in a way. So yeah, of course. And they talk about the focus with Mike Tenay, and they talk about the TNA World title being the focus of tonight. That was kind of the hype of the show at the beginning. Big news: there's a false accusation by Desmond Wolfe and Chelsea. Desmond Wolfe, also known as Nigel McGuinness, is working. There's an accusation because apparently he hit Chelsea. It was revealed Abyss was innocent and cleared of all charges, and they're investigating Chelsea and Wolfe for false police report, which leads us into our next match, TNA Global Championship match. Rob Terry, the reigning defending TNA Global Championship holder. This was also known as the Legends title at one point. They could not figure out the name for this title. He takes on Orlando Jordan, who's in his flamboyant stage here in TNA. I think this is a little late for Orlando Jordan because his run was like the most not popular. I wouldn't say popular, but the most well, I can't even think of the word right now, but the most notable thing he did was in WWE. He beat John Cena for the U.S. title, but I thought his time frame, this is way too late to capitalize off of any momentum he had because he had zero momentum coming into TNA.
Right, and I remember I asked you if he was known as anything else or any other characters because the name sounded familiar. But then when you were talking about it, I was like, oh yeah, he was the one who beat John Cena, which is a pretty huge thing to do no matter what era it is in wrestling. I mean, it's John Cena. Mm-hmm. And yeah, it, slow burn, a little late to the party kind of thing.
Yeah, so the lead up to this one was Orlando attacking Rob Terry on his talk show called the Ozone. And it's the Battle of the Freaks as they're tabbing it. That's the nickname for Rob Terry. The entrance for Orlando Jordan. Can you explain this, J.O?
I mean,
this is very creative, by the way, though.
Okay, I guess we could. I'll spoil myself. For a so-so match, you got to have some way to, get attention. So I guess having a entrance like that is a good way to do it.
Like he rappelled from the ceiling with these I can't even think of the word for him, but it's like something like a dancer or somebody would use to hang themselves up and kind of dance and stuff and move around freely and all that kind of thing. But commentary on this calls him very flamboyant. Orlando comes out in gold attire. Not much to this match. It's went about 8 minutes. Rob Terry's destroying him at the beginning of the match. Eventually, Jordan attacks the knee of Rob Terry. He's just on it. He's just all over it. And he's in complete control. But then the match pretty much ends out of nowhere. The match literally ends out of nowhere. At one point, Jordan does slam the knee. I think he slammed. That's after the match. But so there's a knee drop. This is pretty much the end of the match. So he's attacking the knee. Jordan's all over the knee. Knee drop onto Terry. Jordan mounts Terry on a pin attempt, very sexually. And then Jordan heads to the second rope, takes his knee pad down, stands there, and misses with the knee drop. Very obvious miss that he was not going to get there. And then the Freak Buster hits. It's a big spine buster, and Terry retains in about 8 minutes. This match was not very good. I got the story they were getting across. And Terry looks like one of those prototypical jacked WWE wrestlers from the 80s and 90s.
Just very big, very muscular, but really can't wrestle that well.
He cannot move. Actually, I think I may have said he can move a little bit, but I don't know. He was not moving all that great. He's kind of robotic in the way he moves. This dude is beyond jacked, just ridiculously jacked. But I gave this match a C. I didn't mind it. It wasn't great. And I also thought they had Terry sell for way too long. Just hit one move and win. I didn't like the finish at all. There was no build up to the finish. It was just, he got up, hit the move, got out of there.
So earned their paycheck. But if you remember my rule is as long as it's not botch city and they are able to perform, C is usually my default. And that's what I gave these guys, is a C.
It wasn't anything super offensive. It was just,
No.
It was just there.
It wasn't bad.
It happened. I gave it a C as well. but we get post-match, Jordan attacking him from behind on the ramp, as I said earlier, slams his knee on the title belt on the ramp. And now we're cutting to backstage with Team 3D, Inc., the team of Jesse Neal and Shannon Moore, saying, good match. Ray's talking about the beer in his eyes that got spit during the tag team match. I forgot to mention that, but in my explanation of the breakdown of the tag match. But Ray got the beer spit in his eyes by Beer Money. Both Ray and Devon wish Inc. the good luck. But Bubba Ray is saying there's still bad blood with the band, which Team 3D is feuding with sort of in a way. And they'll try to take it out on you. Moore says the book of Dilly Gaff, which is, do I look like I give a you know what? Says you're going to you're looking at the new tag champs. So Ray says now they're saying they'll take care of us. Right? He was like all confused. And apparently Neil said that to Ray. Devon's like, Ray, brother Ray is overreacting. And Devon mentions that exact thing to him, but it leads into something later on the night. Spoiler alert, everybody. We get Doug Williams up next with taking on Kazarian, the current TNA X Division champion, for the title. And the funny thing about this match, here's the build. Doug Williams had to be stripped of the X Division title due to travel conditions. So it's a vacant title at TNA Lockdown the month prior. So Kazarian wins it at Lockdown against Shannon Moore and Homicide in a three-way. And pretty much that's it. Williams is in possession of the title. He never gave it up. So Kazarian's the champ, and he's not held the belt ever. But so we have Kazarian and Williams here. We had some mat-based wrestling to start. And Tenay tells a great story during this match, actually, at the beginning. He's talking about Kazarian, how he's traveled from California to Massachusetts to train with Killer Kowalski. And then Tenay's talking about how he did an autograph signing in California at one point. And Kazarian told him he would be calling his matches one day, which is a little cool nugget in there as well. Mm-hmm. And what TNA also did very well before these matches was kind of give you the story. So if you missed the TV and all that stuff, you got pretty much caught up to speed with these pay-per-views, even though if you missed the TV stuff leading up to this.
Which is my situation, because I did not watch this pay-per-view when it aired 12 years ago.
Yeah. So, but they do you think they did a really good job with that?
I'd say yeah. It didn't look that. It didn't feel like it had like the video package quality that WWE had or has right now. But I was still able to see like, oh, okay, that's why they hate each other, or it's like, oh, so that's the story going in. So I thought it did its job.
And they did the bullet points too before matches too as well.
Right. That is something that I noticed too. I thought it was really cool. And okay, so perfect segue, Sigdaddy. So anytime I do a pay-per-view review, I don't look anything up. I want to come into a blind, like no expectations. So one thing I did know about the X Division in TNA was the match that they do with the X Championship with the X above the ring,
Ultimate
and they
X.
have to get yes. And I guess I kind of assumed that this match was going to be that, so I was actually really excited for that. And then I even saw in one of the bullet points it said it was X Division rules or something. So I was like, oh, this is going to be one of those matches where they're going to hop onto the rope and try to grab the belt. But it actually wasn't like that.
No.
So when do they pull that out? Because I thought that was like
Destination
for all
X.
Just Destination X?
They'll do it different. Destination X is where they usually pull out. Like I was telling you earlier with the Bucks and the Motor City Machine Guns, they had that kind of match too there.
Okay, because I knew X Division was, at the time their cruiserweight. So I guess I kind of assumed they did that all the time. So I don't know. I was a little bummed when I found I was like, oh, this isn't going to be that kind of match.
It's give or take kind of when they talk about cruiserweight. It's not about weight limits. It's about no limits pretty much, which is kind of a confusing tagline, by the way. But the main feud so the X Division title had a pretty good legacy because in 05 they had a run of matches with Styles, Daniels, and Samoa Joe. It was just epic. Some of the greatest matches you'll ever see, with especially at the Unbreakable 3-Way in 2005. So, but yeah, it's about no limits. I guess that's the tagline. It's kind of confusing, but anyway. So Doug Williams here. If you're not familiar with Doug Williams, he is the anti-X Division wrestler. Ground-based wrestler. He's not going to go to the top rope, hardly ever. He's not going to take there. He's going to have a grounded approach here. And so early on in this match, Kazarian, he uses a little bit of Doug Williams' strategy, kind of that kind of way. And he hangs Doug Williams' arm on the rope. He's working the arm multiple times throughout the match. He even gets a Romero special, a variation of it on him. He heads to the top rope with Doug. Doug knocks him off with Kaz hitting his head on the ramp in the process. And so here's the turning point of the match. It's a neck breaker between the ropes, which always looks nasty, by the way.
Yeah.
Always looks. It never fails to look nasty. And so Doug works the neck for a little bit, and then Kaz answers with a front suplex onto the ropes. He kicks Williams off into the guardrail. There's a slingshot crossbody block to the outside. Springboard slingshot. Springboard shotgun drop kick by Kaz. Williams eventually misses with a clothesline as he's coming back. Swinging neck breaker by Kazarian for a near fall. Williams then with the float over goes for the Chaos Theory German suplex. Kaz rolls through into a cover for a 2 count. Eventually a backdrop to the apron by Kaz. Kaz hits this beautiful slingshot DDT for a near fall. Moments later, Williams whips Kaz. He ducks the clothesline. Springboard back elbow. Williams goes for a buckle bomb. Misses the turnbuckle. This is one of the nastiest spots of the match. I thought Kazarian was legit concussed here because he almost lands on his head. And Williams then hits a version of the Ushi-Goroshi where he drops is like a suplex and drops him onto the neck onto the knee. And then Kaz counters the Chaos Theory, hits a Blade Runner for a near fall. Then there's a series of counters. Eventually pushes Kaz into the corner, does Doug Williams, rolls through, hits the Chaos Theory German suplex, gets the bridge and the 3 count. And he's now the new X Division champion, even though he never lost possession of the X Division champion. But this also tells you that Kazarian was the X Division champion, but never held the belt.
See, I think that had a nice little extra layer to the feud, to the story. Because again, coming in, it's like, oh, wow, that's interesting, having all those extra layers to it.
Mm-hmm. I thought this was pretty good stuff. I did feel, though, a little bit at the end here. I felt that it seemed a little off after the buckle bomb attempt. I felt stuff was a little off, but they did a great job of hiding it, I thought. But I like that. I like that story element of Kaz never holding the belt too, as well.
Oh, so you thought it was just a botch? Is that what you thought it was?
Because I think Kaz was meant to hit the turnbuckle.
Because it was like you said, he just barely got it with his neck, or just missed.
I don't know. It looked bad. It looked rough.
Yeah.
I gave this match a B. What do you think, J.O?
B+.
B+?
Because I liked it.
Yeah, I liked it.
I was a little disappointed it wasn't X Division match like I was assuming it was going to be, but it was still good nonetheless.
I really enjoyed it. It's one of the best matches of the night for sure, along with the tag match. There's a lot of so this is a theme of this show, kind of. There's some good matches, but there's not on this show, there's not one just great one that just stands out here. There's some good ones, and then there's some ones that are just there pretty much.
Mm-hmm.
Which makes the show kind of pretty much. But we cut backstage to Desmond Wolfe and Chelsea and explains nothing's changed. Chelsea's freaking out. Desmond says, "You're mine, remember that." He wants the ring. So this match is coming up, and not this coming match, but the following match will be. He wants the Hall of Fame ring from Abyss. Desmond says you're sorely amiss if she thinks it's about her. He's talking about he needs to win because the rankings are coming out this week, and calls Abyss a window licker. Calls Abyss a window licker.
That's funny. That's funny you say that, because I wrote that down too. Like, interesting insult. I've never heard that one before.
I was like, wow, that's creative. That's the first time I've heard somebody get called a window licker in wrestling.
Right, because and I was thinking, is that because I didn't look it up, but I tried guessing. Like, he's British.
Oh yeah. Or he wrestled for Ring of Honor. He's fantastic. He's fantastic.
Yeah, I was thinking like, okay, maybe it's a British insult, but yeah, I've never heard that before. So yeah, I got a little chuckle out of that when I heard him say that.
But yeah, he is British. He's a commentator. He was a commentator for NXT, if you remember.
NXT UK or the NXT?
NXT. He was. I think he's NXT UK now, but
okay.
He's a fantastic professional wrestler. He was a fantastic professional wrestler, but he had hepatitis C, which forced him to retire. But coming up, non-related to any disease, Tara versus Madison Rayne for the TNA Knockouts Championship. Madison Rayne, the current champion, career versus title. And the lead up to this one, it's Feast or Fired, which is a TNA thing. I don't think you're very familiar with it, J.O., but there's these so we have a winner of these matches. Like, it's this big group match. So these winners they get to pick a case. They'll either have a title shot, a title, or they're fired, like legitimately fired.
It's Money in the Bank.
Yeah, it's pretty much a carbon copy of Money in the Bank, except it sucks.
When I saw the you're not wrong. I'll agree with you there. And when I saw the video package where it looks, yeah, because isn't that how she won the title? She just happened to pick the right briefcase?
No, it was Angelina Love won the title, and then Madison Rayne won it from her at the Lockdown pay-per-view.
Okay, but the point I was trying to say was they can get the title just by picking the right briefcase.
In that situation, yes, it was that was so stupid.
That's horrible. You want to demean what it means to win a championship by having it be lucky like that?
To give you background, J.O., Vince Russo was on creative at this point. Think about that.
It makes so much sense now.
Let's put the title in the briefcase, bro. Let's put the title in the briefcase, and bro, it's gonna get heat, man. Bro, heat. Put the Knockouts Championship in the briefcase.
Like, are you gonna win it by putting on an epic match with great storytelling, great ring performing, or are you just gonna pick the right briefcase?
Nah, I'm just gonna pick the briefcase.
I was gonna pick the briefcase. That was
anyway. So
I digress.
I digress. Tara has been incredibly aggressive recently. She's saying she hasn't gotten respect from anybody. She's not going to get it unless she has the title. And she has a pet tarantula with her. And then we get this thing called Let the Pigeons Loose when the beautiful people show up, which is Lacey Von Erich, Madison Rayne, and Velvet Sky. And so this is the point where we're at in wrestling, but TNA did. I give TNA a lot of credit because they were really the first one to really give a crap about their women's division with Gail Kim and Awesome Kong.
Right. I do remember that part of TNA though. It is almost universally agreed upon that, yeah, TNA, when it came to its women's wrestlers, kind of pioneered the fact that, yeah, their women's wrestlers were going to take them seriously. And, we're going to give them the respect. And Gail Kim, Hall of Famer for TNA, if I'm not mistaken, right?
Yep. And she works there now and part of creative. So she had a match back, 2-3 years ago. That was a retirement match and she freaking killed it. One of the most underrated women's talents ever, to be honest. And WWE completely dropped the ball on her, by the way. Yeah. Yep.
Right. I was going to say another one of those. WWE didn't know what they had and lost it.
They had one of the best women's wrestlers in the world at that point, and they couldn't figure out what the heck to do with it. Just the same old story, different day, pretty much. But this match only goes about 6.5 minutes. Tara goes for the Widow's Peak early. Madison backdrops Tara to escape. Tara kicks Madison off, then cuts Madison's legs out from underneath her on the apron, pushes Madison into the ring post. Rain hits a sunset flip for a near fall. And there's this roll through pin counters that are not looking so pretty here. They were trying, but it was not looking pretty. But I got to give them credit here. Crowd was into this.
I was a little surprised of how into it they were getting. Again, there's a little bias in me because, a lot of these wrestlers I've never heard of really or kind of forgot about them. With Tara, I do remember she was in WWE as
Victoria.
Victoria, yes, she was Victoria. And in a few of the episodes of TNA that I would catch, or not even a few of the episodes, a few parts of the episodes that I would watch, I remember Tara. She, had the arachnid, which I thought was gross because I hate spiders.
Yeah, I do too.
But yeah, again, I have that little bit of a bias. Like, I don't really care too much about this match, so wasn't really into it. But then when I saw, the crowd getting into it, so I was like, oh, okay, they're doing their thing. I was surprised.
Yeah. And then it was actually after the suplex into a guillotine by Tara, which was a cool transition, I'd say. That was a pretty cool transition. That was when the crowd noted. I was like, this crowd's actually pretty into this match. So eventually Madison begs off Tara with kicks. She ducks a clothesline, hits some forearms and a kick to the face. And it was so weird because Madison Rain's a heel at this point, I'm pretty sure. And it looks like she was trying to do a babyface comeback as a heel, which made absolutely no sense. It confused me beyond belief. I'm always confused anyway, but this was even more confusing. But Rain goes for arm breaker, back breaker kind of finish on Tara. Tara counters with the clothesline. She goes for the Widow's Peak. Madison counters. Tara eventually hits the Widow's Peak. Madison rolls out to the floor. Tara hits a scoop slam. Tara hits a beautiful top rope moonsault. Tara stomps Madison again, misses the second moonsault. I thought they were going a little overboard here with the finisher kick outs. Then Madison does hit the shoulder breaker and neck breaker thing to retain at 6 minutes and 28 seconds. Thought this was a bit clunky. I thought the last 2 or 3 minutes of this was actually pretty good. There were pretty good stuff here. But like I said just moments ago, I felt like Rain got way too many kickouts.
And I hate it when that always happens in actually, I don't even say WWE. I'd say even in AEW. AEW, I feel, is more guilty of this than WWE is. Finishers or special moves, they don't do anything anymore.
NXT, especially back in the day.
Oh, okay, yeah. NXT. But yeah, there were a few times in the match where I thought, I was like, okay, that was it. That was the move. But then no, they kicked out. Like, what?
Like after the first moon, so after the Widow's Peak, I'm like, okay, that's fine. But then she hits the moonsault, kicks out. I'm like, what?
Yeah.
I was like, that's a little much here, but I gave it a C+. I thought, even though it was a bit clunky, the crowd was into it, which added to the atmosphere to it. I didn't like the retirement angle at all because she ends up coming back in October. She wrestles at Bound for Glory in October. In October.
I was going to say that too. I forgot to mention when I learned it was going to be like a retirement match, I was looking at both of the wrestlers. Neither of the wrestlers looked like they were on the edge of retirement. So I'm thinking this probably wasn't going to happen. Like, even if she did lose and would have to retire, I didn't think it was going to stick. And as you just said, it didn't. So I gave it a C, just a C.
Okay. Fair grade to say the least. We get some thank you Tara chants. She had some time to herself, and then TNA security's trying to get her out of the ring. And like I said, this wouldn't be the last match she had. I'm pretty sure she's still wrestling to this day. Tara is. But we get Christy Hemme backstage with the band, Eric Young and the new TNA tag champs, Scott Hall and Kevin Nash, which they used. I'm pretty sure they used those Feast or Fire briefcases to win those titles. Eric Young said he joined this group because everybody else's wannabes or pretenders. He says there's more money standing together than being nose to nose. And Hall was talking about how he doubted Young initially. Says he stepped it up. He tells him it ain't show friends, it's show business. Nash says they're going to do this Freebird style. So all three guys are going to hold the tag titles. And he tells Ink, you guys got a great future, but not tonight. Eric Young says he'll get the beers on ice backstage. I don't like this Young pairing with Hall and Nash at all. He's at this point. So Eric Young, they tried to make Eric Young a serious character in 2009. Which for most of his run he was kind of known as a comical character, pretty much comedy character. So like this drastic switch, I don't know if it really worked then. Now it works. He's pretty good now, but like back then it was kind of hard to take him seriously.
And I'll say this though, it was definitely interesting to see Kevin Nash and Scott Hall in a wrestling ring at this point in their careers.
Because they were late. I know Kevin was in his, what's 2010? He's like 62 or 3 now. So, yeah, that's 12. He's like in his 50s here. Hall is. I mean, Nash and Hall, I think they're both probably in their 50s here.
Yeah.
But yeah, R.I.P. Scott Hall.
R.I.P.
Had to throw that in there. Man. That's one of the greatest redemption stories you'll ever hear too with him.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Sorry.
You're good. So in the lead up to this, Ink beat Team 3D to earn this match. The band comes out with the music they came out with is practically a carbon copy of the NWO Wolfpack theme, just without the lyrics.
Yep, I kind of caught that too. Which, I wasn't too mad about. I like the theme.
It's pretty dope. So this match doesn't go super long, really. It goes about 9 minutes. Hall he throws the toothpick at Moore to start, and then Moore slaps Hall. He's working the shoulder, slaps Moore in the head. Moore gets a roll up for an early near fall. Clothesline in one corner. Shannon counters the second. Moore eventually hits a spinning leg lariat for a near fall. Moore keeps throwing up the rock signs or whatever. He's not doing it too sweet there. But Hall does his signature point, then tags in Nash. He says he wants Jesse Neal. Then Nash just destroys Jesse Neal in the corner, high knees and elbows. He then puts his boot in Neal's throat. He clotheslines Neal with the ref's back turned at one point. Neal starts a little bit of a comeback after an abdominal stretch where Nash uses Hall uses Nash for leverage. He hits Hall with the hip toss, but he misses the elbow drop. Nash then misses clothesline in the corner. Hall gets the tag. Not Hall just gets the tag, but Shannon Moore gets kind of the lukewarm tag because the crowd's not super into this. Moore hits a crossbody on Nash, rolling neck breaker off the second rope by Neal, which was pretty cool. High crossbody to Hall on the outside. Neal charges Nash for the spear. Nash moves. Neal crashes into the ref into the corner, so we get some shenanigans going on here. So Eric Young comes out with a kendo stick, tosses it to Nash. Neal ducks a couple of shots. Neal takes Young off the apron, and then Nash just takes more off the apron with it. He clubs him. Neal then spears Nash. Young takes the kendo stick before Brother Ray comes in, and then decks Young in the head, taking the kendo stick from him. He just clubs Young in the head with this thing.
Oh yeah.
Ray it was no holding back. He just drilled him in the head. And then Ray trash talks Nash in the ring. Neal tells Ray enough. And then Jesse Neal gets clobbered by Brother Ray with the kendo stick. And then teacher taking out the student because Ray, background story a little bit. Ray and Devon trained Jesse Neal. And so Young drags Nash on the top of the Neal for the pin at 8 minutes and 47 seconds. I thought this match had way too much going on. This match had too much gaga BS going on. I thought they were having an okay match at that point up until like all that crap kicked in.
Well, see, I think I actually kind of disagree with you on that one because to me this one felt kind of clunky because I don't really think Kevin Nash and Scott Hall were. I mean, of course they weren't at their best considering their age and where they are right now at the time of this match. So it didn't mesh well with me, like to me at least. So having this little bit of excitement at the end, I actually kind of enjoyed.
Okay. Yeah, I was on the flip end of that, but I gave it a C.
This one I gave a C+.
So our last two grades have been flip-flopped.
Yeah.
Interesting. So eventually, this is one of the most, I'm noticing this is a theme as I'm looking at my notes here. After this match, so there's more stuff going on with Desmond Wolfe and Chelsea and all this because we finally get the video package. This is one of the most prominent storylines on the entire show, which I don't understand why.
I say one of the most prominent and one of the most outrageous storylines.
Yeah, this is one of the stupidest. This is crap. So this incident, the allegations and the aftermath is what they're talking about. And apparently these were all fake because Lacey Von Erich, who was a heel at that time, shows Hulk Hogan the phone evidence of Chelsea and Desmond kind of making this up, creating this scenario and everything. So this match, it's Ring versus Chelsea. So if Desmond Wolfe wins, Desmond Wolfe gets Hulk Hogan's Hall of Fame ring that Abyss is wearing. And then and if Abyss wins, he gets the services of Chelsea for a month.
What even is that? Because this 2010, right?
Yeah.
This sounds like something WWE did back in the early 2000s with the custody of Dominic kind of match thing, like just this outrageous. I was watching the video package, listening to what, everything that unfolded up to this point, and I just couldn't help but think to myself, really? Like, this is what's happening? Like, it was just crazy to think that they were doing stuff like this still in 2010.
And this Abyss was gifted, like I said, Hulk Hogan's Hall of Fame ring. And so it gave him the Hulk power of the Hulkster man, which I don't understand why Abyss needed that at that point, really.
Wait, was it his WWE Hall of Fame ring?
Yes, it was.
Oh, wow. And they acknowledged that.
They didn't say it was a WWE Hall of Fame ring. They just said it was a Hall of Fame ring.
And he was only been in one Hall of Fame up to this point. So, yeah, put two and two together. So
here we go. Here's the match. I didn't hate this match, by the way. I actually didn't think it was bad. It was okay. Nothing special. But so we get Abyss jumping Wolf from behind before he even finishes his entrance. Chelsea tries to get away, but the ref forces her to sit down in the seat and watch this match,
which I thought was also kind of weird.
Yeah, WCW had this sort of thing back in the day. Like, this was not like during the Russo era of that, but it was like the early to mid 90s. They did that weird thing where they'd sit on the ramp. Never understood it. But Chelsea tried to use the purse on Abyss. Desmond knocks Abyss out of the ring, and then he's working the shoulder. That's kind of the theme of the match. He works the shoulder, and Chelsea's acting here is awful.
Yeah, I wasn't into it at all. Like, it wasn't believable. I mean, she's not an Oscar-winning actress by any means, but even at the bare minimum, you have to at least make me believe like you're afraid. But I just wasn't believing it.
I
like,
wasn't
at
buying
all.
it either. Like it was terrible. It was pretty bad. She was
Yeah.
trying, but it was not good. So Abyss eventually he's working his comeback. He Googles Wolf. Wolf snaps the arm, hits a DDT for a near fall. Hits this cross chop in the corner, which was kind of cool. There's a big running European uppercut in the corner by Wolf. This is actually not the comeback for Abyss, but actually it does. It starts the comeback because he goes for the running clothesline, does Wolf. Abyss counters. Wolf goes for a ricochet clothesline. Chelsea has the purse. She tosses it over to Wolf. Abyss grabs Chelsea. Ref stops him. Wolf now has the brass knuckles and drills him with them. But Ref was checking in on Chelsea, so he's late to make the cover. Abyss kicks out. He hulks up. This is where the comeback happens, I mean. But he does the Hulk Hogan U point, right hands to Wolf, black hole slam, 1, 2, 3, game over. The Hulk Hogan formula to end the match. This was, if you look at this match, this is really the Hulk Hogan formula. He gets beat up for 99% of the match and then just hits some punches and a big move, and it's game over, go home at 9 minutes and 27 seconds.
It was first off, I want to say, Abyss was one of the wrestlers I knew of when I first, heard of TNA. I always liked the idea of his character, Mankind-esque, Kane-esque. And I was, when I was younger, I always thought like, man, it'd be cool to see Abyss in the WWE. But it was weird seeing a character like that do the Hulk Hogan thing. Was that just me, or
it was incredibly ill-fitting?
Right? It was weird.
Like this match, I thought it was fine. They told a simple story with the shoulder. I thought that part was fine. It was just the ridiculous stipulation added on to this into the first place. I thought they had a decent match, though. And now Abyss gets the church services of Chelsea for a month. And this, by the way, J.O, is a far cry from what Desmond Wolf was doing at a little earlier on in his run in TNA. But I gave this match a C+.
I gave this one a C+ too.
But I was going to tell you about Desmond Wolf. So he had this series of matches with Kurt Angle back in later 2009 that were freaking bangers. But then they have him doing this.
I guess I was gonna find a way to ask you this, but 2008 to 2012 was TNA's golden era? Like, because this would be right.
I think 05 to 07 probably.
Oh wow, okay. Because
07, 08 maybe. 08 probably.
08. Okay, so this was even way past the golden times for TNA then.
Once Hogan and Bischoff came into power, stuff went downhill. That showed up, I mean. I don't know if they really were a bunch of power, but they had at least a little bit of power. But Bischoff and Hogan took over, and this kind of place kind of went downhill, like when they showed up. But
okay,
because they went from 6 sides to 4 sides, all that stuff.
Oh, in regards to the ring?
Yeah.
That was going to be my next question, because TNA was, one of the things I knew about TNA was they, wanted to be different. So they had the octagon. How many sides?
Hexagon.
Was never the best math student.
Geometry.
Yeah. So yeah, TNA was known for their hexagonal ring. So when I started watching, like, oh, it's only four sides. Because I remember there was that table of 3 where AJ, Sting, and I think it was Kurt were talking about it. So it was just something I wanted to ask, because I was curious about was, when they started using that. So
they started using it when Hogan showed up. They went to 4 sides. Okay. Which, all right. Yeah, and then they tried to go to Mondays. 2 horrible ideas. I don't think the ring was so much of a bad idea. It was the going to Mondays was a bad idea. At the beginning, I was like, oh, that's cool. But then I realized as you got older, you're like, that was the biggest. They weren't even close to ready to do that at all.
Not even close. Far cry.
After that, though, we get probably we get the best promo of the night. for Mr. Anderson, because we got an upcoming match, Jeff Hardy versus Mr. Anderson. Anderson calls for his own mic. He gets the drop down. He calls Kristen. He says the Hardys are the creatures of the night. And they say they're pretty, well, it says Hardy's creatures of the night are pretty cool. And then he asks Christy, he's like, could I be a creature? It's like, picture it. Let's go, Hardy. This is awesome. And then Christy said, yeah, then Mr. Anderson says, nah. Because he does ask Christy if he could be a creature of the night, and then he's just doing some funny shit here. He doesn't want or need to do that because he's an asshole.
So I mean, Mr. Anderson is the same character as Mr. Kennedy, if I'm not mistaken, right? So
pretty much.
Yeah. And Mr. Kennedy was a good character for him, so Mr. Anderson I liked as well.
And he calls his fan base Anderson's assholes. And this is where Anderson's starting to, like, this is a transition where he's going from heel to babyface, because he just had a really epic steel cage match with Kurt Angle at Lockdown the previous month. Go check that out, by the way. It's probably on YouTube somewhere. Please go check that out. It's a great cage match with a crazy spot in there. But he'll say the winner of the match tonight, we're moving back into his promo, Mr. Anderson. And then he does this craziest thing ever. It's like, Anderson! Right in Christy's ear. Like, and Christy's face is classic because she is like, what the hell just happened? Well, it was great. Great stuff here. And this next match had some pretty good stuff in it, I thought. Jeff Hardy versus Mr. Anderson's the next match on the show. And TNA is talking about, in the lead up to this, he's talking about Anderson's growth during his through his matches with Angle. I thought that was a nice little touch. Eventually we get "We Are Assholes" chants during this match as well. Jeff did, the week leading up to this match, swanton Anderson through a table. So he jumped off the stage and swanton Anderson through a table. So Jeff's midsection does get worked because he goes for the Hardiac arrest in the corner, which is that double boot to the chest, which always looks nasty. So then Anderson kicks him in the chest. But then eventually Hardy gets back into a comeback. He eats a kitchen sink for a near fall. And then the spot of the match is after Hardy fights out of an abdominal stretch and gets crotched on a top rope. But Hardy then backdrops Anderson onto the ramp. He grabs a steel chair, sets it up on the ramp in front of Anderson. And Anderson has his ribs taped too here. So that's underrated. We need more people taping their ribs in wrestling anymore. That's got to happen. But Anderson grabs a chair on the ramp. Not Anderson, but Hardy grabs a chair, sets it on the ramp in front of Anderson, gets a running start, hops off the chair, hits a poetry in motion, knocking Anderson over the top rope back into the ring. That was a great spot. High spot.
Anderson sold it really, really well. It looked like it had some impact to that. And I think also a lot of credit to how they filmed or showed it on the camera. It looked like it hurt. And yeah, it was one of those moments, you're watching and you go, ooh. That was one of those moments for me.
It was really good. And then we get Anderson and Hardy back into the ring. He whips Anderson in the corner, does the clothesline into a bulldog, which Matt does. Goes for the gourd buster. Anderson counters with a roll through fireman's carry slam for a near fall. Calls for the mic check. Underrated finisher, by the way. Hardy hits an elbow. Anderson sends Hardy throat first into the ropes. Anderson does hit the mic check. Hardy, then this is one of the little off spots in the match I noticed. That was the one spot where they were kind of because I think Hardy was supposed to be closer to the ropes when he kicked out, because he had to kick out and grab the rope. if you notice, he had to kick towards the rope to go grab the rope, which kind of that was, I think, may have been a minor botch.
Because what's the point of grabbing the rope if you already kicked out? And that I saw that too, which was my first thought. Like, why did he grab the rope? He kicked out already. Mm-hmm. So yeah.
So Jeff then hits the front suplex gourd buster on Anderson, because he kicks Anderson with that signature spin through kick he does moments before. He heads to the top, changes his mind. Jeff hits some right hands, hits the twist of fate. He heads up top again. Anderson cuts him off. Anderson then goes for the Green Bay plunge. Jeff elbows his way out. Anderson just falls forward, face first, off the top rope with Jeff. Then Jeff climbs up for a third time. They're building up to the swanton. Jeff hits a swanton, which I love the way they did this here. It was onto Anderson's back, but he was on all fours.
You don't see that a whole lot.
I don't think I've ever seen that other than that match. And he hit that at 13 minutes and 57 seconds to get the win. But I love that ending, that way they used the swanton in that situation.
And another credit to the filming, didn't they show it from a bird's eye view when he landed it?
Kind of, yeah.
Yeah, that's something I noticed that I thought was pretty cool. But yeah, you don't see that a whole lot, so I definitely noticed it.
Mm-hmm. And so I gave this a B grade. I gave it a B. So I thought this was a pretty fun match. Crowd seemed really into this. The poetry and the motion with the chair was awesome. The swanton at the end, I like that they didn't go with the typical swanton. I like that they were playing off the injured rib cage of Anderson with it, like with Jeff hitting it on his back. I like the work Anderson did as well. It's like a three-way race for the best match of the night so far at this point. I gave it a B, like you said, like I said just a minute ago. What are your grades for? What is your grade for it? I mean, J.O.
I gave it a B minus. It would be a B. However, I could not get past Jeff Hardy's short hair. I'm not used to seeing him like that.
Oh my gosh, you're lowering the grade for the short hair?
It was hard to get past. Every time I've seen Jeff Hardy for years and years and years, he had the long hair, sometimes in a bun, and he had just had, this bold-looking cut. Just wasn't used to it. Couldn't get past it. I'm sorry.
Mark this date on your calendars, ladies and gentlemen. J.O. took part of a letter grade down for a match because of someone's hair. That's a first. I mean,
it was just too jarring. I'm sorry. Like it's as close to a B you can actually be without being a B. That's the grade it has.
Man, I can't believe you, man. But Anderson, after the match, holds his fist out. He's trying to extend it to Hardy. Hardy declines the handshake. It would eventually lead them to teaming up at Slammiversary against Beer Money as the Enigmatic Assholes. Great tag team name, by the way.
Clever.
And then we get Ric Flair and AJ talking with Christy backstage. He's talking about RVD having no business representing this company. RVD won the title on a fluke. And then we'll win it for Flair because he deserves to be surrounded by greatness. That's what you see here. That's why he was the longest reigning champ. That's Flair, what Flair said. And then we get the Sting and Jeff Jarrett video package. And it's Sting versus Jeff Jarrett next, which is not really a match. It's more of an absolute beatdown.
I would agree.
But the story leading into this is Sting returning, attacking Hogan, says he doesn't owe Dixie an explanation. Sting isn't giving Hogan and Dixie an answer. This is a very personal feud between Jarrett and Sting. Why Sting? Why is the question. Jarrett's music hits as we go to the match. No entrance. Cut to backstage with Sting already bloodying him with his signature baseball bat, throwing him to lockers. Eventually, Sting drags him onto the entrance ramp and takes Jarrett towards the broadcast area. Gets blood on the pay-per-view format, by the way. Nice touch. Sting drags Jarrett towards the ring, slams him into the guardrail. No bell hasn't even bell. There's no bell yet. And Sting owes it to himself. Dixie Carter in the TNA fan base. Sting owes it to himself. Sting owes it to himself, the TNA fan base, and Dixie Carter. That's what they said on commentary. Sting gets the ring steps, sets them up, lays Jarrett over them. Sting with the baseball bat shot to the back of Jeff's leg. He traps Jeff's shoulder on the ring steps with the bat and then stomps on the injured shoulder, adding more insult to injury. And ref says he wants it in the ring, so Sting obliges, ragdolls Jarrett into the ring. Both men in, bell rang. Scorpion death drop by Sting. Game over. 14 seconds, I think. It's under 15 seconds. This is an angle, not a match. I'm not giving it a grade. But Sting was incredibly aggressive here.
Yeah, my grade was NA, not applicable as well. But it's not often we see Sting as, well, I guess, like as a heel in this situation, right? Yeah,
and eventually, really, he was the baby face when you find out later on in all of this.
Because, Sting, he's been like a career baby face.
So yeah, mostly.
Yeah, it was definitely interesting for me to see this side of Sting because I haven't seen a whole lot of him.
Mm-hmm. So Sting after the match gets on the mic and says, "Want to play the deception game, Jeff? You're no different than the other guys, Jeff, and they're going to pay the same way you did tonight." And so Sting is on a mission here. So
he's not happy.
He's not happy. Then we get medical and personnel and refs out to check on Jeff. Jeff's screaming about his dislocated shoulder. He's placed on the stretcher. Jeff does a good job selling here, by the way. Sting walks out of the ring. Sting just knocks Jeff off the stretcher like a jerk to add more insult to injury. Hogan then comes out on the ring ramp, and then Sting cowers away, and he follows the EMTs out to get Jeff Jarrett out of the building and into a local medical facility. I just threw that last part in.
I mean, we'd assume it's a local medical facility.
They don't call it a hospital in wrestling. But following that, we get RVD backstage with Christie saying this belt means something to him because he stands for everything this belt stands for. Best wrestler, coolest, most popular, Mr. TNA. RVD says, let him complain. With RVD as champ, more fans will watch, and we'll also tune in to see him AJ get his ass kicked. So leading into this match, RVD wins the TNA World Championship. So at Lockdown, AJ Styles defends the championship against the Pope D'Angelo De Niro, also known as Elijah Burke, formerly known as Elijah Burke. And RVD is in the Lethal Lockdown match. He wins. The TNA Impact following that on Monday, RVD wins the TNA World Championship from AJ Styles, ending what was the record at the time, 211 days. It was a record title reign for AJ. But we get the match. AJ Styles versus RVD for the TNA World Heavyweight Championship. This was they were building this up as a pretty big matchup, felt like. TNA World Heavyweight Championship, it's the rematch. Boy, did this kind of underwhelm.
Say, on paper, this sounds like an awesome match, considering, their wrestling styles. You'd think they'd mesh super well together.
But we got way too much posing to start. The first 5 minutes angered me.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, because you got to think, with AJ Styles and how his abilities to go, and then Rob Van Dam, he can go. Yeah, you'd think from the get-go they'd go, but that part I'd agree with you on. Just like you'd want them to just let them do themselves, but for some reason they didn't right away.
I don't understand what they would have just let him go. They didn't need all this necessary crap at the beginning with this posing by RVD and all of this. Like, I felt like this match lacked a lot of focus.
There's still a few decent spots, though, still, right?
Oh, yeah, I agree with that, but this match could have been 300 times better than it was.
See, I agree with you there. I mean, because, they're still... I mean, on paper, Rob Van Dam versus AJ Styles. Awesome idea. Let's do it. But it just didn't...
The execution was bad.
Yep, that's a good way to say it. They just didn't execute.
The execution, I'll say subpar. That's what I'm saying. It wasn't bad. It was just subpar. So like I said, the first 5 minutes is a bunch of nothing. Eventually, we do get a RVD connecting on a moonsault. More posing from RVD. AJ misses a springboard. RVD goes for the rolling thunder. Ric Flair pulls RVD's leg out. Earl Hebner kicks him out. And Flair's losing his mind like usual, throwing a Flair fit. By the way, what are your thoughts on him having another match?
Ric Flair?
Yes.
Wait, are we talking about him having another match in 2010 or
no?
This
now year? He's literally going to have a match.
I don't know about that. How long has this been talked about?
Just this week or last week and this week.
Oof, please, Flair. I would not recommend it.
The Ricky Steamboat didn't agree to do the match with him because that was one of the ideas, but he decided not to. So I'm fine. I don't really want to see it, to be honest.
No, neither do I.
I like the song they played during Flair's retirement. Leave the memories alone. Please leave the memories alone, Ric Flair. You could have just ended it with Shawn Michaels and just stopped. But you couldn't. You couldn't stop there. I digress, though. Let's get back into the match a little bit because Flair eventually joined. Flair moments later just joins the commentary booth, but she's not ejected from. Oh, this ringside rule they call. Remember, like the Damian Priest match we talked about last episode for WrestleMania Backlash. He wasn't at ringside. Flair was not at ringside. He was at the commentary booth.
He wasn't ringside.
That's the stupidest thing I've ever heard. But all right, we finally actually get some wrestling here because AJ knocks RVD off the apron, hits a beautiful tope con hilo. That was great. And so AJ eventually is gloating. He's kind of trying to be a mini Ric Flair here. AJ's working the neck of RVD. And RVD whips AJ into the corner, gets the boot up, tornado DDT by AJ, gets a near fall. RVD's sell the DDT is always great.
Mm-hmm.
Like now RVD is focusing on AJ's neck here. Beautiful thrust kicked out of the corner by AJ, by RVD. I said at this point, Flair wasn't really enhancing the match with his commentary. He does do one at one point here in just a few moments. At one point, RVD monkey flips AJ out of the corner. AJ got some elevation there, though. That was cool.
It was nice seeing this version of AJ Styles.
Oh, yeah. Still going strong. Still going strong. over 12 years later, performing at an incredibly high level. So RVD hits the monkey flip. He does his taunt on the top rope, misses with the frog splash. Flair has one moment of commentary where he actually enhances the matches by saying the taunt takes way too much time.
Not wrong.
So AJ hits the phenomenal forearm for a near fall. RVD hits a jawbreaker. They get some standing switches. AJ hits a Pele kick. Eventually, RVD crotches AJ on the top rope. It hits a thrust kick on him. AJ at one point, really cool move, the torture rack submission to the power bomb. Always love that. AJ goes for the Styles Clash. They change some pin covers. They go double down on a couple of charging clotheslines. AJ at a turning point, AJ goes for a springboard 450, completely misses. And this incenses Flair, and he gets angry and heads back up towards the ring. And Jay Lethal shows up, which, to give you some background, J.O. So Jay Lethal's kind of impersonating Ric Flair at this point.
Right. So I do remember Jay Lethal and his woos, man, just as good, if not better than Ric Flair's, damn near.
Wooing off with Ric Flair,
yeah.
But they exchange strikes on the ramp. This is where the match gets diverted a little bit, the attention. This is what I was saying. This match kind of lacked some focus for most of it. Flair does get the better of him. Lethal hits him with a low blow, puts a figure 4 leg lock on him on the ramp. Back in the ring, AJ cuts RVD off as he was heading up top. AJ goes for a superplex. RVD drives AJ throat first into the top rope, hits the frog splash, and we head home with RVD retaining at 24 minutes and 47 seconds. I gave this match a B-. Like I said, I did not like how unfocused this match was. I just wish there was more focus on the ring aspects. What they did in the ring was pretty good.
Yeah, for sure. I gave it a B. Seeing AJ Styles like this is just so cool. The tope looked clean. The 450, because he doesn't do the tope anymore, does he?
No, not anymore like that.
Yeah, not like that. He still does the 450, but the 450 in this match looked crisp, really, really crisp, and it was nice to see. Yeah, anytime that they were able to get something going a little bit, it was good. It was good.
Yeah, it was good once they really started. I wish they wouldn't have wasted. They could have cut the first 5 minutes out, and it would have been an okay match. Really good match.
Yeah, it was. I mean, for a main event at this kind of pay-per-view, I think it was the best match of the night.
I was going to say it was either the Doug Williams-Kazarian match or the tag match. I personally like the tag match the best out of probably anything on this show.
The triple tag match. Right?
Yeah, the triple threat tag match. I think it was probably the best thing on the show. It's just because TNA's tag division at that time was red hot. And so that
one would have been my close second. The triple threat tag match, very close second to me.
Yeah, there was overall this show, taking a look at the whole package of this show, there was some good stuff. But there was also some stuff that I really could care less for.
Yeah, if you're going to do good versus the bad, I think there was a little more bad than there was good on this one.
Yeah, I'd have to agree with that. So, with that being said, I'd give it a C+.
I'd be in that range, C+, B-, leaning towards a C+.
Like, honestly, for me, like a show to be average to okay, it's a B typically for me. It has to be pretty. Like, if I have to go below B, it's not typically very good.
I mean, I'd probably how I'd rate them. How you rate pay-per-views is probably the same as me. If if at the end of it, I'm counting out how many matches I really, really liked. If more of them are going to be good, it's going to be a B or above. But with this one, just not enough for me.
I think I had like 3 or 4 matches that were I thought were good. Nothing was great.
Say I'd have the 3, the triple threat. Of course, AJ Styles and Rob Van Dam in the Kazarian match.
Mm-hmm. And what else? Oh, you already okay. So AJ Styles, RVD, the tag match, and what?
Kazarian.
Okay, yeah, got it.
Yeah,
got it. That I like. See, I go with the Hardy tag match and Kazarian, Doug Williams. Those 3, I like those as well. But that's our thoughts on TNA Sacrifice 2010. This is the first TNA pay-per-view review we've done since it's at least been a couple of years. I've done 2 TNA pay-per-views before, which was TNA Slammiversary 2010, which is the pay-per-view following this, interestingly. And then I've also done the Bound for Glory 2020 pay-per-view review. I've done that as well. So 2 TNA pay-per-view reviews done on this show. We'll do some more likely because there's some more up on YouTube. So we'll definitely head back into the realm of TNA. Maybe we will go into earlier TNA next time we do a TNA pay-per-view review, part of our retro pay-per-view reviews here on Sigdaddy's Wrestling Show. Next time here on Sigdaddy's Wrestling Show, we will be discussing, should CM Punk win the AEW World title at Double or Nothing? That's our topic of discussion, because Double or Nothing at the time of this recording is just a little over a week away. And it's one of the most hyped world title matches that AEW's had in a while. Hangman Adam Page versus CM Punk. It's the first time the AEW World Championship match it's kind of like, okay, who is actually going to win this match? Because it's like, and actually the winner of this match is in question. Typically it hasn't been. It's been kind of predictable who's going to win. But here it's like kind of, okay, you could go either way. But really, should Punk win the AEW World Championship at Double or Nothing? We'll discuss that next time here on Sigdaddy's Wrestling Show. Before we go, J.O, drop your socials.
You guys can find me on Twitter and Instagram at Jeremy Ordas, all lowercase.
And you can find Sigdaddy's Wrestling Show on Twitter, Facebook, and TikTok at Sigdaddy Wrestle, and on Instagram at sigdaddy.wrestle. You can listen to other episodes of Sigdaddy's Wrestling Show anywhere you get your podcast: Spotify, Podbean, the iHeartRadio app, Apple Podcasts, wherever you get your podcasts. And when you listen to Sigdaddy's Wrestling Show and you like the show, make sure to give it a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts or Spotify. Like RVD hitting that 5-star frog splash on AJ Styles here. Make sure to leave Sigdaddy's Wrestling Show a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts and Spotify. Until next time, this is Skylar Sigdaddy Sigmund alongside J.O. saying thank you all for listening, and so long, everybody.